Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Elvis Newhart, and I'm just sharing right now. I told you I was going to I put that out there on the social media announcements that we were going to have a special Thanksgiving Day message here today. And I would like to say, hey, happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, here from Lower Saxony, Germany, here too. Thanksgiving is not a German holiday. The pilgrims didn't land in Germany. Interesting enough, though, the pilgrims were fleeing religious persecution from England, and so they hopped over to the Netherlands. But things started heating up there, and so the pilgrims they actually took off from the Netherlands, what in America what we know as Holland and everything. People, they took off from the Netherlands, they went over to the New World, and there we go. And so it's a Thanksgiving. It's a really great time to be thankful for. And I just like to give thanks to everybody listening in today, all of our listeners, all of our subscribers, our listeners, our supporters, all of you. We would just like to say thank you very much for giving us a reason to show up. We hope you're really built up. We hope you're really encouraged. And so, but anyway, but I talked a while ago about doing a little message on world history. We're going to skip along here a little bit. I got some great stuff to show you. Maybe you know it all already. Maybe you don't know much already, but that's okay. We're going to do this here. Click into our poll collection. We have a poll here, folks. And the poll today says, did you have a good history teacher or a bad history teacher? Because that does make a difference there. So my apologies to all of our Denise. I see you there. Hello. I know that there's also Thanksgiving in Canada, but that's another day. Can you maybe the Canadians out there can tell me when Thanksgiving is in Canada? I was going to look that up, but I hit the button and here we go. So anyway, but we say Happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving in America. I really enjoyed that holiday with it here today. Now in Germany. And also in Germany here, like we said, it's not a free day here. The people in the church, they are all hard-working people. Swiss Miss is hard at work. Everybody, biker girl, Dr. Phil, the people are working and everything, and that makes it kind of a damper here. It's not a holiday. It's a Thursday and everything, so we offset it a little bit. So, but however, I will be celebrating later. We are going to have the barbecue spare ribs here and we're going to have some nice mashed potatoes with those, of course, some gravy, maybe some other golden treasures that have been smuggled to me from far across the ocean. Like, how about that, baby? Kraft macaroni and cheese. Yeah, you're looking at a box of manna that has dropped from the heavens there. That's really good. I get that maybe, oh, this will be my first macaroni and cheese, and I don't know how long, right? How long? This will be my first mashed potatoes, I think, in a year and a half, 2 years. Be my first mashed potatoes that I have down there. I just want to show you another something else of smuggled goodies. Oh, Thanksgiving was in October. Okay, there you go. So here we go, and also there too, another box of smuggled goodies over here too. Hamburger Helper, not just Hamburger Helper, deluxe beef stroganoff for those who know that one there too. Hello, the food of Moses and his people. So anyway, there we go. They have those. I don't think we're going to do this today. We're going to save this for some hamburger when we do it. But we may really hit up on the macaroni and cheese. Wow, do you know you know how much fluoride is in macaroni and cheese? I don't want to tell you guys, okay? So anyway, but it's really good. We'll enjoy that. Just enjoy some time together. Lots of friends and family around the world. That's why I'm broadcasting this now to all of you out there that we love and appreciate. Is for just hey, we're having fun. Help me have some fun. I like doing this. I like sharing some history. And there we go, everybody. So praise the Lord. Okay, everybody's like, October. Okay, Canada, you beat us to Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. You beat us. You see, what's really funny is that everybody goes, well, yeah, in October we were all having Oktoberfest. You know that's in September here in Germany. Oktoberfest is 70. So anyway, I tell you what, folks, let's just have a happy Turkey Day. Let's look at some history, some fun history stuff. I really like history. I had a great history teacher in high school, but I grew up loving history, reading books, read a lot of that. So if you want to, let's just sit back, relax. Why don't you grab a cold one? Yeah, just pop that cold one right over. And whoa, hold on just a moment there. That cold one better be, get this, dreams do come true. Diet Dr. Pepper, people. Diet Dr. Pepper. Can you read that? And this is even the American football edition. Imagine how popular that's going to be over here in Europe where they play soccer for fun. But anyway, Diet Dr. Pepper, these are rare. They're also shipped in. Look at this. Nice little football right on the laces right there. Like I said, dreams do come true. Anyway, Diet Dr. Pepper. I'm going to sip on this during our presentation today. Tell you what, sip on one of those, find something good. Yeah, you know what? I hope I didn't trigger anybody's alcohol spirits there, but you know what? You don't need that alcohol. You don't need the cigarettes. You don't need that. Okay, you can get away from that. It doesn't add any value to your life, folks, and you can walk free now in Jesus' mighty name. Just right now, just put them down by faith in Jesus' mighty name, and we cut all hooks. Okay, praise the Lord. Hey, Diet Dr. Pepper. Oh, mm, mm, all that goodness in a can. Okay, I'm motivated now. Here we go. Mm. And yeah, I see Mr. Bell. Mr. Bell says hello to everybody there out there today. And also here, Mr. Thumbs Up. There you go. But you know what? Today's Thanksgiving, so just enjoy it. We're going to go forward. Here we go. So now let's look at some stuff. Now, what I have here is I have a series of maps that kind of show some world history, show some history here, and let's just see what's going on. Okay, there you go. And let's go. World history here. So what I'm going to do now, what we're going to do is I've got like 35 different maps we can look at. Some we're going to skip. Some of the maps are just any map that went into like a political agenda, anti-American or how bad people are bad. You know what? We are not. We're not going to do it here too. And folks, please, I'm going to ask you today on the chat thing, so I don't have to shut it off. Hey, how about we enjoy this here today and just relax and let's not bleed all over chat with disaster or whatever else like that. Not it's not the time for that today. Okay. So anyway, let's just do it. So now what we have here is we have early human migration, so they say, okay? And I'm always careful about these maps, but one thing I want to point out about early human migration is we know that the world always didn't always look like this where the continents were like this. They were more together, right? You had that piece up there and this piece up there and those pieces there and everything else. These all kind of fit together some more. You had South America and you had Africa were together. And so they were there, and so there was human migration. Now that's the first mistake they make here on this map is they do human migration, but they want to pretend that the world was always just split up like this, and it wasn't, folks. Okay. And so yeah, so they have, of course, they'll have the beginnings here for everything, and it was all more up here, and I don't know exactly where it was. They really want to push it. They really want to push it and make it. Yeah, oh, yes, everything, all life started in Africa and everything else like that. Actually, when you read the Bible and everything, it's probably more in this area up here, right? But what I want to show you, an interesting thing, is I want to point out here too, because there's always things about these evil Europeans that came and pushed out the Native Americans and these evil Europeans that came out and did so much stuff or whatever else like that. Okay, you know what? Let's just beat the devil with his own stick here. And it says, look at this. Look at the migration that happened all the way up here. You had all these people in here, where there was China, you have the Mongols, Eastern Russia, all this. You got all these people here. Okay, and they say 15,000 years ago, because it has to be a long time, right? 15,000 years ago, they have them coming over. And there were people that did come over on the ice bridge, okay? That came over on the ice bridge like that. You have a lot of these people here, and they came in, and when they came over the ice bridge, they came down and they pushed out the people living here. This is America. They pushed out the people living in Central America, and they kept going down. Notice here, they kept pushing out the people and going in this direction. Okay. So the thing is here is that they go, well, we were here first and we're the Native Americans and everything. I'm sorry, you're not. You're not. And your map proves this right here, because what your great great forefathers or ancestors or whatever else like that, what they did is they moved in here. There was new area, okay? And that's the history of the world people is moving in, right? And they all want you to think, well, there was nobody here. The earth was free. The earth was free, the grass was green. No. Okay. There were people there too. Those tribes came and pushed them out. And I'm going to show you this. And that's the history of the world. Okay. That's the history of the world. But those who love to play victims, they want you to go. Okay. And so, anyway, oh, Lefse. By the way, Denise, I know what Lefse is. Yes. Yes, my ancestors come out of this part of the world too. Okay, now so anyway, and they always want to do they always for the evolution part. They always want to say it came deep out of Africa, deep out of Africa. You see, because that's where all the monkeys and gorillas are, and that's where we came out of. People, I'm just using this one here as a chart. And everywhere you see these people migrating or whatever, what happened was is they didn't get there first. They didn't get there first. Okay, what happened was yeah, these people moved and they displaced whoever was there, and that's what's been going on forever and ever and ever. Okay, so let's move on. That's the migration thing. But like I said, they always want to come over and say, "Oh, the evil Europeans over here came over here. They came over on boats and they pushed the native peoples out." No, because these people did it first for thousands of years. Okay. So there you go. So what they're what they're trying to project on you is actually what their forefathers and whatever did beforehand. That's really incredible, people. So, amen. Let's go forward. Let's enjoy all this. Okay. So now, let's go to our next one. What's our next map? Very good. Here we go. This is the height of the Roman Empire. It's just another map here, just to look out. And this is how big that the Roman Empire actually got when it was in its when it was yeah at its biggest. Okay, before the collapse. And now notice this here too. Here's Germany over here. This is Germany, Europe. Notice it's all the way up in England. Up here, there's a thing called Hadrian's Wall, which is still there to this day. But Rome had all control over this. Okay. And you know what's really funny is when we read history and when we read biblical history, a lot of times we think, okay, we think that this is the only world that existed. But it wasn't, people. There were people over in China. There were people up in here, right? There were, you know, and now I want you to notice something here too. Germany wasn't always called Germany. They call it Deutschland right now here too. But now here you see all the different tribes. I won't go into them. It's all almost too small for me to read too. But you had all these different tribes here, and the Romans got tired. The Romans got tired of naming every tribe and everything else, and so one day the Romans said, "You know what? Forget it. We're not gonna call it all those different tribal lands. We're just going to call it Germania." Which means roughly we're throwing them all together. Everybody up in that part of the world are called Germani. Yeah, exactly. That's how that started there. Just like Palestine or Palestine, you realize that's what the Romans called that area down there, Palestine, and that's where we got Palestinians from. Okay, and so they want to say, oh, we have this area and everything. No, that part of the world that was promised to God, to his people and everything. Yeah, the Romans just renamed that, and now you have Palestine, Palestinians, everything else like that. So praise the Lord. Good. Okay. I keep seeing that lefse over there. I know what lefse is. It's really good. Yep. Okay, let's move on. But so anyway, this is how big the Roman Empire actually got. Notice it was here. Here's Israel, all the way down into what was Egypt, all along the coast. This coastline was big. And you'll get Carthage over here. Oh boy, lots of stuff happened in Carthage. But now I want you to notice this too, that even back then, remember when Paul writes in the Bible, he says, well, you know what? When I go to Spain, I'm going to go to Spain. And then there's times also in the Bible, I got to find that somewhere where that's written. They were going to go to the islands as well, because you know what? Everybody's like, oh no, look at this. It's a whole big one world government thing. It allowed the spread of everything. I guess I'm comparing oranges and apples, though, right? Not that I'm for one world government or anything else like that. So, praise the Lord. Anyway, and so there you go, people. And so that's the Roman Empire, a little bit there. We're going to go on for these. I'm not going to go through the entire Roman Empire thing, but yeah, that was really pretty big, really pretty amazing for what they did. Of course, you had the Greek Empire with Alexander, and I'm going to show you some other empires that make this Roman Empire seem really small. Now, that's the other thing too, is like since we come from this area and everything, we think, we get that view, or even when we read the Bible, we think that we read the Bible and we think that the only part of the world is just here, right? No, there's all that other stuff going on. It's really incredible to see where they go. But anyway, so there we go. There we see the maximum extent of the Roman Empire. Here's Africa. Here's Spain, France, England, up into Germany. They hit that river up there. They ran into the Germans, and it was like a buzz saw. So it wasn't so nice. Okay, so here we go. So that was the Roman Empire. Now where are we at here? Because there's some parts we'll go on. Okay, here you go. Here's the rise and the fall of the Roman Empire. It's on year 360 right now. That's when it broke up, east and west. It'll reset here in a second. 450, 480. Look at that. It's just melting away, melting away. Well, it keeps going. I wonder how far it's going to go. 600, 630. That's the Byzantine Empire right there, where it just kind of melted away and they're getting conquered. 867, 1025, 1095. Let me see how far they go. 1170, 1200. Byzantines. Wow. 1204, 1280, 1360. Wow, 1400, really? 1430. Now there's just little parts over here, if you can see it, like little green parts. Okay, now this is 510. I can't pause these maps either. But now watch how the Roman Empire grew, and this is how it grew right there. 220. Okay, 190. It's going backwards. There you go. Okay. 70 years before Christ, 40 years before Christ. Around that time, 20, 30, right there. Okay, so there was the Roman Empire. Now watch it grow, people. How it grows. This is really good, really big. They're going forward, and then they split. And it was all that internal struggle, all that internal division and everything. And now notice, and this is where the Ostrogoths and everybody else, it is such a complicated history when you get into it, because all those tribes from the north came down and conquered them. The Byzantines were huge. We see the color of the Byzantines here now mostly. And then we see how they just keep getting beaten back until they're just a little, yeah, see that? All that along that shoreline and everything. And notice that the West is completely wiped out by now. And we're going to look at some other maps that explain this a little bit. Yeah, 1453. Are you kidding me? So anyway, and then it just repeats back over again. But the Roman Empire, also very interesting study on that. Roman Empire, on how things just fell apart, how corruption does that. There was so much about the Roman Empire that you get into England and so many other places. They really wanted to copy and emulate that Roman Empire. And if you've seen the movie The Dead Poets Society, has anybody out there seen the movie Dead Poets Society? Yeah, where all the rich and all the affluent and all the wealthy, they'd send their kids to school, and what do they pump their sons full of? Everything else like that? Roman history. There's a lot of Romanism in a lot of the history and what these people have. And what happens is they read all this stuff. They're in school. They get into secret societies or clubs. And what do they want to do? Let's bring back the Roman Reich. Let's bring back the First Reich, the Second Reich, the Third Reich. Wow. How about the Holy Roman Empire, people? So anyway. Mm, yes, thank you. Had a sip of Dr. Pepper there. Diet Dr. Pepper. Let's go forward. Now, did I do this the right way? Okay, excellent. This is very important here. What do we see here? We see the Roman Empire, and you see those red spaghetti-like lines going everywhere? That is where the Romans built their roads. And they were incredible for building roads. Number one, they built these roads so they could move their armies. Okay, so they could move their armies, but then these roads were also very good for trade and everything else that went over that. Okay, and so you see you see the Roman border here. Okay, but those little red lines everywhere are where the Romans built roads. Okay, and that's where the saying came from: all roads lead to Rome. And anyway, they had roads that went up from Europe to the Middle East. Here's Hadrian's Wall up there, if you can see it. Maybe I'd lift it up a little bit. It's kind of like, here we go. We're flying into England, everybody. There you go. Hadrian's Wall's up there. You got the road up there. And it was really incredible with these roads because these roads did a lot of things. Let me tell you, like we said, number one, they were for the military to move their troops around. And the next thing is whoops, let me move my cursor. And so the next thing is, but they were also important for trade, for people moving around. Hey, as long as there wasn't a legion on the road, you could move your goods, you could do everything. Notice there's a road going all the way down here. And there's one thing about these maps that always annoyed me is they're always showing Europe and the Middle East, but they're not showing what's going down over here and everything that's going on over here. But okay, so there we go. And I just wanted to show you the roads. And the thing is they made roads, they made aqueducts. The Romans had moving water. Yeah, they had running water. Okay, they had running water and everything. They had aqueducts all the way down into Egypt and everything. And these people were builders. They put people to work. Let me tell you what. And so there you go. Yeah. Okay, all the roads. Boy, look at Jerusalem. Look at Israel down here. This is the King's Highway right here, the road that goes up and down the coast. That's the one that everybody wanted to control because all that trade going to the King's Highway. Notice they didn't really make it into much of it because it was all desert. And this is all desert down here too. It's all desert. Yeah, Desertum Africanum. Yeah, there you go. That's how you say it in Roman. Desertum Africanum. Okay. And anyway, but yeah, because so armies or whatever kingdoms like that couldn't really go into the desert, and there wasn't anything there anyway. Yeah. So anyway, do I need to mention that the Maori, these people here, the Maori? Anyway, they were important. They were important in Hannibal's time. Now, notice I just want to point out here too is yeah, not a lot of roads extending up into Germany because the Romans really had some problems with the Germans up there. You have the Saxons, right? The Chaville, the Luigi, the Quaddle. Okay, all these other names and everything. Look at that. The Rus, the Russi, right? Remember those folks. The Suiones, which means the Swiss, the Swedes, the Herul, all these little tribes, everything else like that was really interesting what they did. So anyway, yes, and I think there's some. I think a lot of this map is in Latin anyway. Yeah, Oceanus, Britannicus or Britannica. There we go. Okay, so there we go, people. And so that was the Roman roads. Now, those were really, I mean, the reason why I put that out there too, they also aided in the spread of Christianity. Okay. Paul, all the other people, Paul, just whatever. It led to the spread of actually everything. But yeah, the Roman roads. These guys built roads. By the way, in the 1930s, in the 1930s, and into the 1940s, Hitler did finally go and build roads, okay, because he copied the Romans, and he built roads all over Germany and all over what was Germany, so that he could move his armies faster, okay, and he built the Autobahn over here. Now, when the Americans went over and fought in Germany, they found these big, beautiful highways and how the Germans could just go zip, 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 move that stuff around. And so Dwight Eisenhower came back to America after World War II, and that's when they went into the freeway system in America, and that's where they made all of the freeways also in America. So all that Thanksgiving traffic that's all plugged up on the freeways now. Okay, but number one, our freeways, our highways in America, number one, they are built for military transport. That's their first use, and the government can shut that off to people in the event of an emergency. Okay, a military emergency. Have you ever been driving down the highway? You know, in America, we got like 2 or 3 lanes down going down the right. We got, there's 3 lanes on the other side, and then there's that big grassy thing right in the middle. And there's a lot of uses for that. Number one, you can do a lot of heavy equipment down the middle of that so you don't break up the highways. Now they have the technology where you can still move the military or like tanks or something on the highways, and they won't break up the roads. But as we've seen all over the United States, we've seen more of this, we've seen less of this, where actually today what they do with any heavy equipment when they still can, they ship it by trains. And you've all seen the UN vehicles on the trains, right? Or you see all the military equipment that are on the trains and go back and forth. But in the event of war or an emergency, they have lots of nice little space in the middle Lots of nice space in the middle for all the equipment, the roads for trucks and supplies and everything. And if you notice on straight stretches of highway, they have a lot of space between both sides so that you can use them as landing strips for airplanes. So now that we know that now too. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. But there's the roads. And every country did it and they kept it. In England and France, let me tell you, the British, wherever the British went, they built roads. When I was in India down there, when I was in India on on a missionary trip, everybody was showing me all the roads that the British had built way back into 1947 or so, and I was like, no way. So here, let's move on. A little bit of history, just interesting stuff. Nothing too heavy today. What's this? Ah, okay. You know what? They're always finding Roman coins in Britain too. This is kind of cool because you'll have some farmer out in his farm, right? And he'll be farming along. And I do not know how they find this, right? Okay. And I do not know how they find this. Um, I don't know how they find this. But so they're plowing up their field, and all of a sudden they hit Roman coins, Roman this, Roman that. And this is only in England. These are where the Roman coins have been found in Britain. Okay. And now this is just Britain, people. This is not the other places there too. You know, you've got London over here, England over here, and boy, and yeah. So here's where the Romans were, and here's where their coins fell. Wow, any of our friends over in England, get outside, find those Roman coins. My lord, a lot of money. So anyway, just saying. But anyway, here's all the coins they found. Why didn't they find any coins along this strip right here? Because it's a river. It's the London River, people. There you go. Anyway, those are Roman coins. There we go. The Roman coins. Now, here we go. Let's go to the next one. Ah, here comes, well, oh boy, get ready because here comes one of my favorite ones. This is the expansion of the Mongol Empire. Okay. So what do we have? Okay, now it started up here. That's actually really big. It started right up here in this corner way back when, 1206. And notice how the Mongol Empire spread. And then it was, of course, after Genghis Khan died, it was split up between what, four or five of his kids that followed him. And they actually went on one, two, three, four. Four. There was four colors at the end. I'm going to let it play for a little bit. I'm going to come back a little bit so you can see the year, right? Now, this was interesting here too. Whenever you read or study about the Mongol Empire, I really want to encourage you to read the Russian records on Genghis Khan, or read the Chinese version on Genghis Khan, because a Genghis Khan or a Genghis Khan type of personality scares them to death. And what they did is, yes, there were records. There were, oh boy, they kept incredible records on Genghis Khan and what he did. Genghis Khan, here's the whole thing. China, China had kept this whole area up here, right? This area up here under subjection. How did they do it? They used money and corruption, and they played one tribe off of the other. And that is how the English learned to do that. And that's also how Great Britain conquered the entire world. You know, they didn't have the most troops or anything, but what they would do is they used the Chinese model, right? And they would use bribes, okay? And they used bribes on these little tribes here. And then one day, a guy by the name of Temujin, he was born. He went through a very hard life. You're like, wow, how does a Genghis Khan become a Genghis Khan? The Chinese created him. Okay. The betraying tribes created him, folks. Okay. And that's what he did. Now, and I want you all to take a good look and see how far this goes up here, right? And so, yeah, you can watch the map. I'll let it play, keep playing. But notice it goes from the Pacific Ocean over here. The Mongols even tried going over to Japan, but two times there was a thing called a divine wind, or a kamikaze wind, that came and blew the Mongols back into the ocean. And they tried using that same divine wind in World War II, and we know them as the kamikaze. Now you know where that comes from. But Genghis Khan, or his people, they tried going from Korea over to Japan, and the kamikaze winds destroyed his ships, and they couldn't take over Japan. Made it really difficult. Okay, so anyway, but here's what happened. So Temujin came and Genghis Khan means the great Khan or the great tribal chief. That's what that means. And so what happened was he came and he started going around to these tribes going, hey, come on, everybody. We've got the Chinese, we've got these, or the Wei, or we got these Chinese down here, and they're bribing us and they're having us kill each other. What's going on? This shouldn't be. We're a strong nation. By the way, this here is the nation of Mongolia as it is today with the borders, right? But Khan came from up here and he went down, and but they really made him. If you really want to see a good movie on Genghis Khan, okay, don't watch the Western versions or the Hollywood versions, okay. You need to watch the one that came out of the Russian and Chinese records called Mongol. Simply called Mongol, and it's the beginning of Genghis Khan and what made him. He was brutalized. And I tell you what, these people today should really watch out for this. And this is why the Chinese communists really watch this. This is why the Russians really watch this. Okay, this is why the globalists really watch this, because they beat him up so much. They threw him in prison. They tried starving him, but he would not die, right? And the thing was this, they turned him. I mean, you poke the dog with the stick long enough, yeah, watch China go red, people. Yeah, you see that there? And so, yeah, and the Chinese, they sacrificed millions of people trying to stop Genghis Khan, and it didn't work. Now, I'm going to tell you here, notice they came all the way into Asia. They wiped out Persia, okay? Right? They did that. They wiped out Babylon. Notice over here in Iraq, they're all the way over to Europe, and that's just Khan and his kids. Then there's those that came after him. But this Europe thing, well, I'm going to show you later. They get all the way over there, right? Okay, they got up into Russia. Look how far up into Russia and Poland. Okay, all the way up there, and there's even some more parts they did, folks. Now, let me see if I got this here. Okay, now what we know through the Western thing and from all the stories told of these people who were terrified, right? Terrified. We heard their stories. Oh, the horrible Khan and everything. Let me say some things here. Notice how it goes all the way over here into Europe. Okay, it goes all the way over into Europe, and notice it's all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And in the Middle East, okay, there was even more. Okay, okay. I mean, they made it all the way to here before the Mamelukes. The Mamelukes turned them back. The Mamelukes turned them back. Okay, they made it all the way down here. They tried going into India too, and whatever wasn't. I don't know what it is about India, Pakistan, Afghanistan doesn't really work. Okay, notice they whatever. So anyway, they got turned back. Now, there was a saying when the Mongols controlled that area, when Genghis Khan, when it was at its greatest, you could walk, they said you could walk from Europe all the way over to the Pacific Ocean over here. You could walk with a golden plate on top of your head and nobody would touch you. Nobody would bother you because if they did, then the Khan would come get you. Okay. The Mongols, they would come get you because that was one of their laws. You do not molest traders. You do not molest people traveling back and forth. Okay, that was the law. And see what happened was Genghis Khan came and he made uniform laws there, right? Okay, ever heard of this one? Thou shalt not steal, right? You shall not do this or whatever. And so and so anyway, but and the other thing too is if you were a missionary of other religion or if you were holy people, and you know what, they didn't discriminate. Hey, if you were Islam, if you were Christian, right, whatever religion people, you could not touch them and they could wander anywhere in the kingdom. They could go anywhere in the kingdom and they had the protection of the Khan or the government or whatever. They had that protection. Now, why would Genghis Khan do that? I'm going to make it really short here so we can go on. You know why they did that? His mother was a Christian. What? Genghis Khan's mother, right? Okay. Not only that, his mother, and also his mother was influenced by Christian missionaries there too. He had a son. There was another one. Boy, another daughter. One of the daughters was also a Christian too. Okay, and they were open. They were open up for the Christ. Okay, why? They allowed missionaries to go in here and everything, and they spoke to them everything, right? And so, and Genghis Khan said, "Hey, you know what? He didn't get in the whole religion thing. He goes, you know what? Roads are free and open to all of them here, right? He believed in freedom of choice. You could choose, right? You could choose, and there you go. Okay. So that's really good. So trade was there, and that's where, oh, come on, you hear this stuff from Marco Polo, everything else like that. That's what opened basically the East. He says everything he was welcoming, right? He was welcoming the West to come over to the East, and he always wanted to do trade, and he was trying to do trade. But there was another law that they had. Okay, if you attacked his scouts or his soldiers, or if he sent ambassadors to you, and if you mistreated the ambassadors, then he's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And watch how this did. Now, where you see this red spreading, where all that red was spreading, he always sent ambassadors and emissaries before him because he wanted to set up trade. He was going to set up the rules saying, hey, let's be friends. Okay, especially down here. When they started getting into the areas of Islam, right? He'd send groups of ambassadors, and the people down there following Islam, what they would do is they would cut their heads off and send them back. And so then he said, okay, well, that's what happens. That's how this whole there was a whole empire here that he wiped out. There was a thing for China here, and why he was so brutal against the Chinese is because the Chinese were so brutal against his people for close to 1,000 years, and they bribed, they stabbed in the back, and there became a uniform code. And the thing like this was this, okay? Now, there's a famous story too. The Mongols, they're going towards the east, they're going more up north into Russia and everything, and they go there. And so then these Russian knights came, and the Russians came and they attacked his scouts and his people. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute here. And so they were going to attack, they came out with a lot of pride. They were going to attack the scouts and his people, and it just didn't go that way. And that's why they went almost all the way up into Scandinavia. Okay. Now, there's a lot of things. Now, one thing that he did too is, yeah, Genghis Khan knew how to fight war. And people, I'm sorry, war is war is war. You need to read back in the Bible how war was fought and what they did. Remember that Joshua and all those people, they were sent in, and what was their command from God for Joshua? Yeah, everything. You know those times where it says, "Hey, you take every man, every woman, every child, you take their beast and everything, and you get rid of it." And there was a real spiritual significance in that. But the thing was this: they all go, "Well, Genghis Khan was so brutal." Yeah, they say that in the West. But you know what he did? He always set ambassadors forward to develop trade and alliances and everything, and said, "Hey, here's how it is." Okay. Now, and they would always make the mistake. They would attack them. They would ignore them, attack them. They would get proud, and then the Mongols would come. Now, the Mongols would come up to a city, and I got to be careful. I have studied this. I have read, if I haven't read over 2,000 pages on this stuff, I've read more. Great series. It's so interesting, especially all of his laws and what he did, and you really see what went on. But anyway, so the Mongols, they would come up to a city, and they would send their ambassadors to a city. Usually the city was locked up, and they said, okay, you know what? We're going to set up a white tent, right? And we're going to let the white tent stand here for a day. And if you surrender to us, everybody's okay. You can have your religion, you can have your trade. What you do is you just pay us some tax, you pay us some money, and it's okay. Right? Well, there you go. Now, if you rejected the white tent, they would come up the next day and they would put up a red tent. Okay? That was on day 2. And what the red tent meant is that every male in the city would die. Every male in the city would die. If you wanted to save your wife and your children, if you want your wife and children to be okay and will live with their protection and everything, you can come out, surrender now, just come to the red tent. But all the males of the city are going to die. Now, by that time, a lot of people didn't take it. But on the third day, they would set up a black tent outside the city. And what the black tent meant is that every living being inside that city has chosen to die, and we're basically giving you a day to take care of it. Okay, and that's how he didn't have time to mess around with all this. Okay, I am not condoning bloodshed, whatever else like that, but that's how they fought war. At least he gave the people a chance. Okay, there were many cities, and there were many cities and empires that said, okay, we don't want to die. You know what? We're going to pay us the money. We'll pay the tax or what, pay some tribute, and there we go. And you know what's funny is when they decided that, that city came under his protection, and heaven help anybody who attacked them, right? So anyway, but there you go. And there were a lot of battles. Of course, the Chinese were very proud, and just the amount of people that ended up passing away. God, I mean, those people that want population control, that's a dream for them this day, right? So anyway, that's a dream for them. Okay, so anyway, but back to that. Now look where Genghis Khan went. Now, why do I say the Russian version and the Chinese version? And how do you know? Go to the look at the movie Mongol. All the producers, directors, everything else like that, they're Russian, right? They're Russian. They're Mongolian. There's a whole book series by by a guy by the name of Khan Iguidin. He translated that all over into English. There was like 5, 6, 7 thick books. I read them all because they were fascinating. Okay, and yes, people, when back then and when things happened, hey, whether it was Romans, Greeks, Persians, Mohammedans, or whatever else like that, it was a bloody time. We think we have it rough now. Boy, think of back then. So anyway, but that was wow. That was really something there. Now, why the Chinese and why the Russians made such meticulous records of all of this is they're scared to death. You know who China's scared of? Anybody that even remotely resembles a Genghis Khan, a leader that unites the people, a leader that speaks with a strong voice, a leader that has a clear voice of the law that's very, whether diplomatically, trade, militarily. America had one of those. I'm not saying it was Genghis Khan, but personalities like Trump scare the heck out of them because you saw what Trump did to China when all that was going on. You saw what Trump did with Russia. Trump wasn't afraid of anybody, but that triggers something in those people. Okay, that triggers that fear in the Chinese and in the Russians. Why? Because that happened, right? That happened. You see that? He about wiped them out completely. The only reason why there's still a China or anything else like that today is there were big parts of China that said, "Okay, you know what? We don't like you. We don't want to die." So there we go. But he was merciless to China. Why? Because China was up here doing genocide, and they were doing genocide with the own Mongol people. Please keep that in your mind. People, we're looking at history today because, America, we don't know our history or whatever, but these people know their history and they know how to manipulate, to control, and dominate. And I'm just going to say this here too. China, Russia, whatever, but China right now, they're doing the same thing to Europe. They're doing the same thing to the United States. They're doing the same thing to Africa as they did to the Mongolians back then. But they can never, never, never let another Genghis Khan rise up like that will come and wipe them out today, especially with globalism, communism, socialism, whatever else like that. And I want to show you again, people. This is Poland right here, and wow. You had the Teutonic Knights, right? These are common borders, by the way. These are current borders, by the way, not what they used to be. Maybe I'll have some other ones. Just want to show you what Genghis Khan did, right? And all we hear about here in the West is, oh, he was so bloody and he was such a Mongol and he did all this and he did all that. You realize that he about wiped out Islam. Okay, when he came into here and he took over Babylon, which is right here. Okay, he took over Babylon. Okay, it says the Euphrates River, whatever river runs through that, it ran black with ink forever because they went and they chopped down Babylon. They burned down the library. They threw all the writings of Islam and everything right into the waters. And they did that. And the river ran black forever. And they really just about really wiped out a lot of that, right? And then one day, and then you get, people die and all this happens and everything else. But one of Genghis Khan's kids, relatives, grandkids, whatever like that, came down here and it was around Israel and Egypt. This map doesn't go far enough, right? This was just the Mongols, but it doesn't go, but down around here in Egypt and everything, folks, They met the Mamelukes. They met the Mamelukes, and the Mamelukes were the first ones to effectively defeat and turn back the Mongol army. Wow. And up here, up in Europe, you had the Teutonic Knights, you had the Poles, you had all those people up there. You know, anybody who could get together. I mean, enemies who hated each other in Europe says we got to get together and fight back. So anyway, here we go. Another thing that really put the Mongols back was the weather. Got too cold, they got too sick. Anyway, but let's move on. Thank you for letting me spend so much time here on the Mongol Empire. I really read that, and it's just like, okay, so there we go. Let me check the next map really quick, and I might have to go back for half a second. Nope, that's the Ottoman Empire. We're going to go back just a second here, because we hear about the Mongols, but you know we've all heard about the Huns too, right? Let me see what goes on here. Okay, sorry. Here's a comparison, people. The blue is the Mongol Empire. Can you see that? Ooh, it gets bigger. It gets bigger. It gets bigger. Oh, look at it. I got to go way back on this. Sorry. Look at that. The blue is the Mongol Empire by Genghis Khan and his kids. Okay. Here's China, Korea, all the way over here and everything, all the way over to Europe. Look at that. Finland. Um, it even got closer in there. I'll show you some of this here too. Now, the Roman Empire reaches here's the overlap here. This is the overlap. The Roman Empire was that big. See how that was? Still pretty big. And boy, we thought that was the whole world. Here, let me turn just a little bit. It's so big. Okay, there's the Roman Empire in red. Look at the Mongol Empire in blue. Exactly, people. And notice that all of this here, all down here in Islam, look at, and it's funny, nobody can go into India for some reason. Alexander the Great tried getting into India, and it just didn't work. Okay, there you go. So that's that one. That's how big it was. Now the next group of people I just want to look at really quickly here, because this about wiped out the West here, were the Huns. Okay, and the Huns, they've used the term Huns just like they've used the word Turks so often. Okay, whoops, it's shining. They had to use radioactive weapons. No. Anyway, but so here we have the Huns. You have the empire of the Huns that was up here. Notice the Mongols were up here. They came to here, but then you had the Huns. And everybody was deathly afraid of the Huns. Okay. 447, 451, you know, the 400s, right? There we go. The Hunnish Empire, right? They even called the Germans the Huns in the war, and that's really so. But notice here you had here you had the Slavs. Okay, you had the Finns. The Finns were a big people up here in North, right? We'll talk a little bit about Finland. Okay, so anyway, but you had everything there. There you go. You had the Finns. You have the Norse, the Swedes, right? And now notice this over here. At this point, I'm sorry it's coming in and out. It's small. Okay, there we go. And so what happens here is, can I get it to balance out? Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, it's kind of small, people. It's what I got to do. But anyway, here came the Huns. Okay, and this is where they came. Now there was a group of people here called the Turkic people, not the Turkish people, where we think these are the Turks down here. No, the Turkic people, and that was a big. You know, the Turkics were like all the tribes out here in the plains. You had the Germani that were the tribes here. But now notice you had the Western Roman Empire. Whoops, I'm sorry, folks. It's going in and out here. The UFO is hovering above our house. I'm trying to adjust the light and everything. It's just kind of small. Help me out, Mr. Camera. Help me out. Help me now. Okay, this is an important map. Okay, this is when the Roman Empire was split into the east and the west, right? And you had the Huns up here north, right? And look at this. And then you had the Huns that kind of mixed in with the Germani, right? Which is why they called them the Huns later on. And they came all the way here, people, into France, all the way over into France. This is the Battle of the Catalonian Fields. 451. Get that tattooed on your forehead. No, don't do that. Don't get the tattoo. Okay. 451. Because these Huns were just moving over everything here, right? And they took everything in. And you know what? And then you see them going down in the Eastern Roman Empire here. And why did they turn back so quick in the Western Roman Empire? You see the Huns going along. They actually invaded into that Italian area right there, into the Western Roman Empire. You know why they went home? There was so little resistance. There was so little resistance. They said, you know what? If the own people aren't even going to fight here, there must be nothing worth taking. And that's why the Huns went home. They go, you know what? If there's no resistance here, we're going home. Right. So anyway, but a very important thing, Battle of the Catalonian Fields in 451, right there in France. I'm going to show you that again here in just a second. Another very important battle against the Huns was it was outside of a place called Ypres, and help me with that French pronunciation, Ypres or Yerp or Yeeps or something like that. Okay. And so anyway, why was that important? Well, that battle of Europe, right, in France, that was one of the final big battles, right, with an interesting group of people we're going to talk about soon, right? Final big battles that finally turned all the eastern invasions away. Now, if you look that up, if you go look that up on the internet, the Battle of Europe, what it's even more famous for is that's the first place where chemical warfare was used in World War One. That place just that there must be so much death over that place. You had that huge battle, right? And so yeah, let's see. EPRA? Yep, EPRA. Okay. Thank you, Deep Thought, Shallow World. Yeah. But that one, yeah. And so anyway, if you look that up on the internet, what's going to happen is you're going to get everything for that, the first and the second battle in World War One, and it's the first place that both sides used chemical weapons on each other. Horrible. That battle was so horrible. That's where they finally made chemical weapons and mustard gas and everything illegal in war. That's another thing, another history. Let's just move on. Wanted to show you that, but so, and you notice this is when the guy at first they divided the Roman Empire into the west and to the east, right? You still got the Visigoths here, you got the Vandals here, Persian Empire here, everything, right? But they split it. And I can't remember who they split it between. I don't know if Anthony was in there or whatever, but they split it. And in the west, it had been robbed and sacked so many times the people didn't even put up a fight. And so the Hun said, if these people have nothing to fight for, we're not going any further. There we go. Interesting piece of history there. So anyway, okay. EPRA, EPRA. Okay, good. I learned something. Let's move on. Now I want to show you. This was Attila the Hun. Why are we talking about the Huns? We're talking about Attila the Hun, right? And look what Attila the Hun did in Germany and in France. For all of our German listeners here, I don't know how much you've learned this in history, right? Here you have the Mosel, the Mosel. You have the Rhine River. Here's Strasbourg. There's the Danube. Strasbourg, Worms, Mainz, Cologne, Trier, right? Trier. Okay, all this here too. This is where Attila came in. And look at the map here. All the cities that look like that are the ones that they defeated and they sacked. They defeated and they sacked them, right? Okay. And so they came in. And now look it was the Romans and the Visigoths. And they go, and their allies. I think in a map or two, we're going to see the other things of and the allies, people. I'm going to tell you who those are, right? You're going to be surprised. Do you ever wonder where the Vikings went? We're going to show you. Okay. So anyway, look at this. All these major cities here, right? Worms, Strasbourg, right? Mainz. They conquered all of that, going down, 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 down. Okay. And what happened was they tried getting Paris, but they couldn't do Paris. They couldn't do Orleans. Right. And look at this is where the Romans and the Visigoths and the Allies, they came right back up and they met them at Chalons. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Deep Thought, Shallow World. You're the French expert now. Deep Thought, Shallow. Anyway, Chalons. And here's a battle in here. Ypres is somewhere around there, but they defeated them here, right? Finally, Troy, right? But look at that. All this other here too. All along the coast they went, and they kept getting pushed this way. And I'm going to tell you who pushed them that way. But Orleans, Orleans and Paris made it, but notice the Attila the Hun. That's why in history, and even Martin Luther in his time, everybody was deathly afraid that the Turkic people, right? They would always say the Turk, and they weren't referring to the people that we know in Turkey now, folks. Okay, but the Turkic, they were afraid of the Turkic people. They were afraid of the Huns. They were afraid of all these people coming back in, taking them over or doing this to them again. This was in 451. Whoops. My apologies, people. Let me go back a little bit more. So it's big, okay? This was in 451, and this is Attila in France and in Germany, right? Rhine, you have the Weser River, Worms. We all know where these are. Strasbourg, all that taken over by the Huns and everything, okay? But they were pushed back by the Romans, the Visigoth, and their allies. That means anybody who could pick up a sword or a stick, we need you. Okay, praise the Lord. Let's go back to our maps here. Thank you for doing this, but we don't realize how much, either through disease or war. Do you know what a miracle it is, people, that you're even alive today? I mean, there were so many family lines that were wiped out in these times by war, sickness, disease, starvation, and everything, and you're alive today. Wow, we thank the Lord for that, right? Ever think of that? Especially for all the people that came out of anywhere in the world. I mean, it's a real miracle that we're alive today. There were a lot of family lines that were wiped out. There we go. Thank you very much. That was the Mongol Empire. We got to run away. Let us go one more time there. But let me tell you, folks, if you get a chance to read or study a little bit about Genghis Khan and his crew, that got really interesting. Now, no, I'm not for pillaging whatever, but you know what? That's what they did back then. That was their sport. Let's move forward. Here we go. What do we got? Okay, here we have the Ottoman Empire, and this was before. Okay, this was the Ottoman Empire. It was in Turkey here. There you go. You see their country. It goes all the way up into here, way, just outside of Vienna. There's Vienna, Austria, right there. Okay, and again, and you know what? It was this big until 1919. Somebody want to do the math? 1919 minus 1683. Wow. 1683, okay? And so there you go. And so this is what happened. And now, okay, shalons is shalom. Oh, shalon. Shalon. Okay, good. Thank you, Deep Thoughts. I learned something. Great. And shalon. And okay, so we're on the Ottoman Empire right now. Let me get on this one. Okay, there you go. Thanks for your help. I do. I appreciate that. I appreciate help. It's really good. Okay. Because help is better than ignorance, people. Now, let's go forward. Okay. And now look at this here, too. They have all that, but they had this whole area all the way up into, okay, you got Greece, but all the way up into Serbia, what we know as Yugoslavia, and basically right outside the gates of Vienna. Hello. And that was the Ottoman Empire, folks. This is the Ottoman Empire in 1683. And yeah, have any of you ever seen the movie Lawrence of Arabia? Well, that's where he was, folks, fighting. They called them the Turks. Actually, it was the Turkic people, not the Turkish, the Turkic people that were around here. Okay. Just showing you a little bit here, too. But I'm just like, wow, if anybody has a calculator, do that quick. I can do that here. Come on. It's Thanksgiving. We're having fun, right? Thanksgiving. We're having fun. And I hope this is a little bit more interesting than the New York Macy's parade, which I don't think they're having this year. Are they having that this year? The New York Macy's Day Repair. Let's see, 1919. Whoops, 1919 minus 1683 is 236 years. 236 years later, this would go. But there you go. Okay. And actually, not everything was bad in the Ottoman Empire. I'm just going to say it that way. And I think they had a guy by the name of Ataturk, right? They had Ataturk, and lots of stuff there. I didn't want to go in it. I just wanted to show you guys how big the Ottoman Empire was. And this Ottoman Empire, right? You're like, well, why didn't they attack Austria? Because they were allied with Austria and in Germany in World War One. The British, they fought the British a lot in this area here, which would eventually become Palestine, right? Hmm. Yeah. Diet Dr. Pepper again. That's really good. This here, You know, and what they did was the British and the French fought. Well, remember I told you everybody was learning Roman history, or they had such an idolatry of the Romans. They just used the name again. They used the name again, Palestine or Palestina. There you go. Let's move on. That was the Ottoman Empire, and yeah, you know, if you look at it from some ways, there's a lot of good they did. They really brought a lot of civilization to that part of the world. It just got whatever. And I tell you what, up here with the Serbs and the Croatians and everybody else, oh yeah, there was some unhappiness in this area up here. So anyway, but don't notice that right outside of Vienna, people, and that's why they were so scared of the Turk. The Turk, they say. Okay, let's move on. What's our next one? Ah, yes, finally. Here we go. Here's another big one. Viking expansion. People, this is Viking expansion. Okay, right? And they weren't as expansive as the Romans or the Mongols, but the Vikings, they left their mark on history, okay? Now, if you want to see it back in the 8th century, so we mean like the year 900 or so, and it was even before that, but around the year 900 and so, this is what they did. Skana, Sweden, Norway here, right? Denmark, okay? They were there, and that's the 8th century. But then anybody heard of Ragnar Lothbrok? Really? Ragnar Lothbrok, he started in that too, and actually he was one of the first ones to come in. And notice in the 9th century they started going into England. Okay? They started going into England. And they're like, wow. And so we see, and we're seeing three colors in England. Now, then there's the orange part here. And now look at this. In the 10th century, you had all the Vikings, we'll call them the Viking people here. They went into this place here, right? Into the land of the Rus. Okay? In this land of the Rus. And a lot of the land of the Rus were actually Vikings and other people here that had already started migrating into here. And notice the land of the Rus. And now notice this one here, the Khazars. You ever heard me talk about the Khazars? The part where Jesus says, I know you who call yourself Jews, but you are not Jews. Now, let me tell you this really quick, okay? Here's what happened, okay, with the Khazars, because I'm always talking about them and I mention them, okay? And they're the ones here, the leader of the Khazars here, right? And you see the Abbasid Caliphate down here, which was Islam, and you have the Byzantine Empire down here, the Byzantines, right? The Byzantine Empire down here, right? And they were Catholic, Christian, Orthodox, whatever else like that. Okay, they were quasi-Christian, right? And they were both putting pressure on the Khazar, and so anyway, and they were both trying to really, how do you say, manipulate, control, dominate the Khazars up here. And so what he decided is. They were like, well, what religion? And everybody sent people to him. Everybody sent people to him, or whatever else like that. And the long story short was this: they said, you know what? We don't want to become Islamic with these people down here because they're always attacking us, right? And we don't want to become Christian down here because we've seen how these Christians behave. We see how they behave, and they try to manipulate us, betray us whenever they can do that, right? So we're not going to do that. So we're just going to make everybody mad, and we're going to become Jewish. And that is where your Eastern European Jewish roots come from. A lot of time, you know them probably more this time as Ashkenazi, the Ashkenazi Jews, the Khazars. They've been everywhere, but they became Jewish and said, "You're not going to manipulate us." And we've got to say this here: for these Khazar people here, they were a real powerful people, right? And they prohibited Islam from coming up and going into Eastern Europe, okay? Because the Islam and this caliphate right here and this caliphate right here, they tried pushing up into this region, and the Khazars kept stopping them. Okay, so in a way, you got to thank the Khazars that all this here didn't become Islamic or whatever. And yeah, on the other hand, but those are like the Ashkenazi European Jews or whatnot. Now the Khazars, after this time too. Now here we have this, but they would always fight. They would fight with Poland a lot. Okay, and you will still see statues and everything. You can look it up. They have it where the Khazars would fight against Poland, and the symbol on the Khazar. Now listen, the symbol on the Khazar symbol okay, was like a six-pointed star or whatever. Basically, I'm just going to say it this way. For the Khazars, what they had on their shields, their flags, and everything was what we call today the Star of David. I kid you not. I kid you not. Okay. So there we go. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're just going through some world history here, having some fun. Okay. I said we were going to do this. These are some great maps and everything. I want to show you. Now, let's go back to it here. That's about the Khazars. I just want to talk about these guys just a little bit. Let's go back to the Vikings. Look at everywhere where the Vikings went, right? Okay. You had the Finns here, right? You have the Lapland. Come on. All the Swedes out there, Laplanders, okay? And you had all that here too, but no, they have Permia. Look at this, Permia, all the Volga Bulgars, they say. Okay, these were all the Vikings, and look where they went, all the way over here on the Caspian Sea. It's all Vikings, right? Now look at this here too. And then you had the Rus, and now notice you had the Rus, you had the Chuds, you had the Lets, right? Then you had the Prus, and these became the Prussians. These are the Prussians, and the Rusland or the Rusland or Russia. You had the Prussian and the Russian, and there you go, people. That's where this all started out here. Okay, so this is where Russia came from. This is where Prussia came from, right? And notice as we go forward, each of these different colors. Okay, orange is like in the 10th century, so the year 900. And people there, and now notice this here too. In the 11th century, you had all the Vikings in Italy, southern tip of Italy, right? What's the name of the Bjorn Iron Shield or Ironsides or something like that, right? And now look at in these places, and I love this here too. They go, well, this is areas that were the orange areas. Can you see that? Does that come out okay in the colors? With the green there, you had it. Well, these are places that were raided by the Vikings, but they didn't really have any settlements. Baloney. You had the Vikings going all the way down to Paris. Excuse my pen there. I'm sorry. I just want to show you. They were going all the way into Paris, and wherever there was a river deep into here, because remember those Viking boats were long and flat, and they could go up the rivers. They went down all the rivers here. They went down all the rivers, okay? And they conquered and they settled. And people are like, where did the Vikings go? Where did that Viking culture go? All those warring Vikings from up here, they moved here, they moved to France, they moved to Germany, they moved all this here, even the Russians. And you know what they did for the rest of history? They fought each other just like they were doing up here in Scandinavia. The tribes were fighting up here. So all the warlike and exploring ones went to all these other countries. And where did all those world wars and all those other wars for the rest of wherever happen? Here. Why? Again, because you had all these tribes that moved all across here and they battled against each other. Okay. So you had the Vikings, and there you go. Even into France, Francia, the Iberian kingdoms. Isn't that funny? And then I don't like this here. This is poorly done on this map. The Eastern Slavs, the Western Slavs, the Southern Slavs. That's laziness. You're being lazy. Knock that off. Okay. You got to be a good teacher. You got to put work into things. So here you go, people. So there you go. In Germany, the Vents. Anyway, so there you go. That's what happened. It's funny. But now notice here. Then they have a thing up here, and you know this is Iceland, right? And you know this here as Greenland, right? And now notice you got in the 10th century, you got all this, where they're doing this, right? What's that? Year 1100 people. Now that's two. Now I like this little arrow they do right here because the Vikings were already way over in North America. They're finding more and more things. No, Columbus didn't discover America. Actually, he was down in the Indies. America, basically North America was, the first Viking to get there was a guy by the name of Eric the Red. Okay, so there you go. Was Eric the Red? We're going into that now. Why did they call Iceland Iceland? Because it's green. Why do they call Greenland Greenland? Because it was full of ice, because they knew that stories were going to get back and forth, and they didn't want all these other people, other tribes, other nations to come and attack them here in Iceland. So whenever they go back, they would say, "Well, where were you?" "Oh, we were in Iceland." And everybody would automatically assume, "Oh, it's a land of ice. We don't want to go there." Oh, but there's a place called Greenland. Let's go to Greenland and everything, right? And so some places would go to Greenland and find the ice. But anyway, Iceland is actually it's really beautiful. It is very green. The most favorite song in Iceland is "Ya Ya Ding Dong" or whatever. Yeah, "Ya Ya Ding Dong" up there. We learned that from the movies. And so anyway, but there you go. And so here you go. The Lithuanians. You had the Polish people would be here, and oh, the Khazars and these people. It's funny. They kept Islam down here, but they fought like cats and dogs in here. And then the Rusland, which was the Scandinavian Rus tribe, and then it became Rusland, Russia. Russia. As a matter of fact, to this day in German, the word for Russia is Russland. So okay, look at where they were. Italy, North Africa, everywhere. Once the Vikings found out they could get through here and come over here, and you find Viking influence on all these places, even these little vacation islands down here, Majorca, anyway, Ibiza. Okay, there you go. So that was the Viking expansion, people. And a lot of it was like on the coast or a little bit inland because yeah, they used their long boats. Mm. By the way, that's why when the Vikings came down, that's why still to this day or whatever, you will find people from these regions of the world, okay? And you'll have people with dark hair and dark skin and blue eyes, right? That's why you find a lot of, times in Persian or there's places there, yeah, really beautiful people, dark hair, blue-eyed people. There you go. That's where a lot of that came from. Now, let me throw in one thing too. If you go to rumble.com/ENN, big E, big N, big N, right? What you'll see there is I talk about the Delta 32 variant. Okay. And what you'll find is also these people here too, is they took their genetic code with them and it's in there. And the Delta 32 gene, remember, that's the one where, yeah, you can't get AIDS. Go watch the program. You can't get AIDS. Okay, there we go. Let's move forward. Let's go forward. Thanks for listening, folks. Thanks for listening. Here we go, really quick. Here are countries that were never invaded by the British Army or by the British Empire. Almost a little bit of the, oh, hey, the sun never sets on the British Empire. Um, yeah, and the purple countries are the ones that were never invaded by the British. I find it hard to believe that the British were never in Sweden. Okay, well, there you go. That's White Russia, Belarus here. Okay, these are other countries. Here's Mongolia. Right, really? You had British everywhere else. But anyway, a lot of stuff there. I think somebody's trying to show colonialism here. What's this down here? Guatemala, this big one here. Is that not Peru? Help me. Bolivia? You know what? I have a clickable world map. So over there, that company it would be Bolivia and Paraguay in South America. Let me find this here too. In South America was Bolivia and Paraguay, a lot held by the Spanish. You got some things here. Other European countries had this, like Belgium and everything. And so there you go. Let's move on. So yeah, England's been pretty much everywhere. Yes, England did fight against Russia, or they did invade Russia, and it was right up here. Can you see it? See my little bouncing hand? Right up here at a place called Archangel, and that's where British and American forces landed there to help the White Russians fight against the communists. Yeah, and you don't wonder why they hate us. There you go. That was an Archangel up there. There were many battles up there between the what they call the White Russians. Okay, the whites that were the non-communist ones and the communist Russians up there. That's where they fought. And all the British and Americans came in through the port called Archangel. Let's move on. Okay. What's this one? Okay, countries that have been under European control, and then they count Russia as Europe. Okay, I got problems with that, but oh well. And they talk about the info. So, and I think kind of one of the things behind the last map and this map are like, look how the Europeans were just controlling the world and everything. Okay, if you start getting political, you start getting racist. I'm not interested in your stuff. Okay. Now, the division of colonial Africa. Thank you. This is awesome. Now, for those of you that were imperialism, okay, or if you have to learn about imperialism, right? Um, Here you go. This is a very old map. Well, this map, I think it comes from 1908. Okay, I'm going to show you this. And now notice there were parts that weren't under European control, and that was the Sahara Desert here. Okay, here's the Sahara Desert. Here's the French Congo. There you had French Congo, and then this black part here was called the Belgian Congo. Okay, now the British, all the areas controlled by the British are in orange. So if you see this here, you have Nubia. This part of Africa was called Nubia, right? And there's a little district up here called Egypt, okay? But also the Nubians, right? If you ever had anybody say, my Nubian queen, right? So here was Egypt, here was Nubia, right? What do we got down here? I can't read that. You have Abyssinia here. Abyssinia, that they say that was yellow and independent. The Italians were really interested in that too. That's where Ethiopia is. It's around here, Abyssinia. But I want you to show you some areas you may not have known before, right? Because they have different names now. Okay, so here we go. Now this here is called German West Africa. Okay, actually they called it German Southwest Africa down here. These little green things. Then you have German East Africa. This is Tanzania right now. Okay, Tanzania. I believe this is Angola. No, here's Angola. Ooh, help me. Let's look at the map. Is that Namibia now? Let me look. Okay. See, these are some things where you never look at it. Namibia. I got that right. Okay, good. Good. My geography teacher would be happy with me. And so anyway, but here you go, right? And so here you have all the countries. You've got Portuguese East Africa. This is Portugal, people. Got that? Do they have anything else? Portuguese East Africa. Maybe they had some Madagascar. The Spanish had it. Here was Spain up here, southern part of Morocco. Notice we got Tripoli. Okay, where was Italy? Italian was also gray. Oh yeah, over here, Ethiopia on the Horn. In World War II, Italy tried making a bunch of problems here. They failed. These were German parts. Cameroon was German. Oh, look at it. There's a little thin one here. Is that Ivory Coast? I don't know what it is. But so anyway, I just want to show you this was imperialism and European imperialism. And notice these were all the this is and what this does, people, is this shows the map. And you know how it's always those evil Americans, those evil racist Americans. It was Europe that was dividing up this whole thing here, right? I just want to say something too, and all this changed. All this here changed after World War One. Okay, and that's where we got that's where we got Tanzania. That's where we got Namibia and all the other places here too. They had to redo all this. Now, I want to show you something. Now, you remember, sometimes you hear people go, "Well, I don't like what's going on in the United States. I'm just going to move back to Africa, and I'm just going to go back to move back to Africa." And then there's also people who say, "Well, if you don't like what's going on here in America, why don't you just move back to Africa?" And everybody goes, "Oh, that's impossible. That's stupid. You can't ever say that." Well, let me show you something. You notice this part of the map where it's white and it says free? Okay, this is a white thing and it says free. Let me show you that. White and free right there, okay? I want to show you something. And this always gets looked over and it always gets looked over, and especially if you have a victim mentality and nothing was ever done for me or whatever. Okay? Mm. I want you to look up a country called Liberia, and it's right there. And notice it's free. Liberia is free. Okay, why do I keep saying that? Why do I keep pointing out to that little piece of Liberia, and Liberia is free? Okay, that was the American part. Okay, that was the American part there. And Liberia was created for all the people after the Civil War. It was created for anybody that was brought to America and sold as a slave. The American government would return you to Africa. Okay. So the first thing that happened is the American government goes out, "Hey, guess what? Your brothers and sisters, they were sold off as slaves. They want to come back to your country." And all those African tribes and nations and anybody, all the imperialists holding stuff here too, right? Okay, there's another little one here called Guinea up here, right? There's one there, but Liberia is the big one, people. Okay, And so Abraham Lincoln, I think it was under Lincoln, where they America bought some land, they bought the country, they set up the country. They even had a flag. It was a red, white, and blue flag with one little star on it for Liberia. And any person, and since no other place in Africa wanted to take those people back, right? They said, we've created a place for you if you'd like to return to Africa, and it's called Liberia, with a little American flag, a cute little one star in there and everything. Liberia still exists to this day. Um, I tell you what, if you really hate the United States and if it's really just taken over by bad racist people and everything, okay, there is a country called Liberia in Africa if you want to go back. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that with sarcasm, whatever, or anger. But but these people say it, and everybody else with sarcasm or anger or rebellion or whatever else like that, that they hate America. And oh, if we can just get back to Africa and everything. But I want to point something out, people, and this is true. Some of the biggest people in slave trade were Islam and in Africa. And to this very day, when Muammar Gaddafi was killed, all of the Muslims, all of the other people and whatever in Tripoli, in Libya, okay, Libya that used to be up in here, in Libya and everything like that, they reintroduced slave trade. Of course, they've had it forever. They reintroduced slave trade there, and they're still capturing, killing, or selling black people. Okay, nobody mentions that. But way before that time, too, people, you've got to realize is that most of the people, they were brought here as slaves and everything. They were captured by their own tribes. Why one tribe captures another tribe, they sell you to the European or the white people or whatever. They would sell the bodies because you made a lot of money, and then those people, sadly, would be transported over to the East Indies. To the in the East Indies there, the islands and everything, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, all that, okay? They'd be shipped over there and also up to the United States because, wicked people, they're into anything that makes a buck and they could make a buck. But I want to tell you is that the biggest people that did it was one tribe selling another tribe, or what you had, and especially remember all this up here, right, was more Arabic and under Arabian influence, right? Egypt, everything. You notice Nubia is here too. There's a reason why there's a split here between Egypt and Nubia. And what they would do is they would take any people that they could find and they would sell them and actually over into Indonesia, into South Asia, and so that's an incredible history when you look at that and all the genetics and everything else. That's how you would get black people in parts of the world where they didn't have black people back then. And sadly, they sold them into slavery. And by the way, the Arabians, the Islam people and everything, they would capture white people too and sell them right along the side. Hey, if you were European, oh, if you were Jewish, if you were whatever, they would take everybody and they weren't interested in killing you. Why kill you when they can make a big buck off of you? So that's what happened. And so a lot of that gets pointed in the wrong direction there. A lot of people are talking about colonialism, and we should feel bad as America with all of our colonialism. Look at this here. And the only place back in the 1800s or so. Look up Liberia. Okay, Liberia was created, right? Liberia was created for anybody that wanted to go back to Africa to have a place for them. And at that time, under the protection of the United States government. So some went back, many did not. There's still a place there for anybody that really, truly, really wants to go back there. I'm going to say it this way here too. People of color in Africa are not so impressed with people of color in the United States. People of color in Europe are not so impressed with people in color in the United States. Okay, there you go. I'll just say it that way. I wanted to show this though to show you guys Liberia. Look up Liberia. Liberia, it's liberty. It's liberty, freedom. It's freedom right there. And here were all the other countries, right? Look at it. Angola was Portuguese, Portuguese, Portuguese. Look at the British. Oh, down here in South Africa, South Africa used to belong to the Netherlands, but there was a Boer War that went on. Okay, folks, there you go. That's how Africa looked, and that's how they drew maps in 1908. Yeah. Okay, let's go on. What do we got? The spread of Christianity in Europe. How's that, folks? That an interesting one? And I want to make a note here. The spread of Christianity in Europe. Yes, this is true. Where are we at? Okay, there we go. Let me go back. Let me go back. There's England. There's Ireland. Notice the spread of Christianity and everything. I want to make a note. There were Christians, okay, but after 300 is when you had the Catholics, okay, okay. And notice here too. Notice how blue and everything. That was Constantinople, named after Constantine. That would become Istanbul. They have all the major centers of Christianity. Look at this. Ephesus. This is what is now Turkey, people. Okay. And you notice Antioch. And if you know anything about the Crusades or anything, Antioch was a huge Christian area. And notice over here, Armenia. And these people here in Armenia are Christian, were Christian, are Christian. But back around 19 something, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact date. That's when we had the Armenian genocide, where 1.5 to 2 million Armenian Christians were being killed and wiped out by the people who believed differently. This here was a lot of Christian. Look at, you've got Damascus, you've got Jerusalem. Look at this, Memphis, Alexandria. This is the spread of Christianity, right? Look at this here too. Back in 300, Carthage. That's where Hannibal came from, right? Carthage, Hannibal, right? The type of Caesarea. Spain. Remember, Paul said, I'm going to go to Spain. And the blue is like the little start off spots, and then it spread here, right? Okay. And then between 600 and 800 here, wow, we got into the Friesens, right? The Friesens and the Flembergs and the Germans, right? The Saxons. Wow, I'm in Lower Saxony right now. The Saxons are right there, right in Germany. There's the Rhine River right there. Okay, all the Christian, the Anglo-Saxons from 597 to 670. There you see the spread of Christianity. Now, yes, there was a spread of Catholicism, but there was also a spread of Christianity along these areas. And I just wanted to show you here. Down here, there's a note, converted to Islam 7th century. Okay, which means 800 something, which was when you had Muhammad, when they did that there too. So anyway, but that all used to be Christian, but what happened was it converted to Islam in the 7th century. And if you want to study something interesting, study the connection between Islam and Roman Catholicism. Okay, the connection there. I should talk about that one day. Oh boy. So there you go. Again, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's kind of interesting. Just something different here. Wanted to give you guys something different on Thanksgiving besides, yeah, politics, Corona, football, whatever, arguing with the relatives. So anyway, there you go. That's just amazing. And then this is the other thing too. You see the spread of Christianity, like it goes down here. Well, it went this way too. Remember, this was again before Genghis Khan and everything, but then Christianity just went off into the east and everywhere. But there you go. And remember, Paul said he was going to go to Spain. Even Jesus talked about the people on the islands. Look that up. Look up the islands there. There's Spain, everything. Okay, here we go. We're moving right along, folks. We're getting there. We'll do it. The spread of religions from 0 to 600 AD. From 0, basically from the death of Christ, or from 0, whenever it was, to 600 AD. Now notice this here. Interesting enough, they talk about Judaism, and the red line is Judaism, and that went everywhere here and there. Doesn't look like it's too popular up there, right? Okay. And then you have Christianity, which was the dark ones. And that's really interesting. I don't know about this whole map, but there was Christianity, because Christianity actually started down here in Israel, in Jerusalem, but you had Paul doing everything too. Look at, some people actually did get to Spain. Christians did get to Spain, right? Officially Christian by 600 AD. I got to tell you, yes, it's Christian. Some of that was, Catholicism. Now, I want to show you something here too. Okay. You have the Mithraic site, and there's also Mithraism. Mithraism. Okay. We're going to look at that in another message of what that is, okay? But another one I want to tell you people about is look at converted to Zoroastrianism. See this big blue area? And you got basically you have Zoroastrianism, right? Okay, that's I'll tell you what that is. That's we need a whole message on that. But then you had the Mithraic people, you know, you got Damascus here where they came from, and the Zoroasters and the Mithraean people. Why is that interesting? Okay, people, because the Zoroastrians were were the Freemasons before the Freemasons even existed. Freemasonry hasn't existed since what was that 1756? Is that the right date when they found that? When they discovered the Freemasons and everything, but the Masonic lodges and everything and all their secret and whatever they do came right out of Zoroastrianism and Mithraism, and we're going to share that with you because everybody's like, "Oh, Freemason, whatever." I'm gonna show you the Freemasons before they were Freemasons, people. Wow. And it's all secret religion, and secret is occult religion, and any weird, sick, and psycho stuff you can do. And oh, look how that spread, people. Mm-hmm. And that whole area, and it started right here, came right out of here and everything, and then you had all this, yeah, spreading around. Look how it just spread, and look how it went up into Europe. And look at all these little blue dots and everything, all those little places all the way and on up into England. Oh boy, that's a whole nother different message I got to go into now. But I just wanted to show you the spread. Okay, here we go. Let's get moving along. Okay, I can skip the ad in 2 seconds. What's going on? I can continue. Thank you. Ah, the spread of Islam. Hold on. This is 634, 638. Maybe it was 600. Let me see when he started out. Right? In the 7th century. So wow. It's going to start over here in a second. But here is the spread of Islam. Look how that did. Right? And it was not the religion of there it is. There's where it started, right? In 632. And here's in Saudi Arabia down in that corner. And here's where Islam spread. All that green spread. And there it went. 633, 34. There you go. 638. Oh wait. 7th century is the 600s. Excuse me. I went back. I went the wrong direction. Please forgive me, people. When they say 7th century, they mean the 600s or so. This was the wow. So there's how it spreads. I'll let you see that again and we'll move on. And this is how Islam spread, right? Through the word of his prophet. Yep. Yep, there you go. It just spread. And can I really blow your mind right now and let you know that Islam was created by the Catholic Church? Yeah. Islam was created by the Catholic Church to keep this area here secure for Rome, for the Catholic Church. This whole Jerusalem area and everything else like that, right? And so they used those tribes, they used Muhammad, they used all that stuff there too. They financed him, they set him up just like the CIA does this day. Where do you think the CIA learned this, people? The CIA and all these other world governments, you know, they use stuff like that. And see, they were going to have these people say, okay, you can be in control here, but we get the control of this area right here. Well, then somebody in the Catholic Church, they what do you say? What's the right word to say for that, right? They betrayed Mohammed and everything, and Mohammed said, "You know what? I'm getting so popular, I'm going to take everything. Everything for Allah." Right? And by the way, Allah, that's not God. Allah is a moon god, people. Do you know who the moon god is? Hmm. Allah, and so the moon god. And so then Muhammad said, and all of his followers said, "You know what? You're going to try to mess us over. You're going to betray us. We're taking everything." Everything. And that's and the sad thing is they equate the Catholic Church and everything with the Christian church. So if you say you're Christian, they think you're Catholic automatically. And so yeah, there's how you go. That is why the Pope continues. That is why every Pope keeps trying to continue, and they meet with the Muslim people and Islam people, and they meet with them, and it's all, you know, trying to make peace, but there will be no peace. So here we go. Okay, this was Europe. There was the extent of Napoleon's thing before he went into Russia. Okay, this is we're all the way up to 1812 now. Just wanted to show you how big Napoleon's little empire was. The big empire of the little man, just all around here. Denmark, up into Norway, Kingdom of Norway, Kingdom of Sweden. Look at this, Kingdom of Prussia, the Duchy of Warsaw. This would become Poland one day, right? This would become Poland one day. There's all that. There's the Russian Empire. That's a whole nother message on how did Russia get so big? What a story. Okay, so there you go. But I just want to show you how big how big the empire was. But Napoleon still thought that he had to go attack Russia. Now, would it be interesting to tell you that I believe in 1815 they made like the first League of Nations there. It was basically the first United Nations, the first globalist thing, the first coming together thing. And the king of Russia said, "No, we do not want to be a part of that." So all these people that wanted their quote unquote one world government, here's the Ottoman Empire. Remember, people? Here's the Ottoman Empire that we talked about them earlier. And so what they did is they commissioned Napoleon, right? Napoleon was taking over everything anyway. He was taking over anything anyway. Then they gave Napoleon the permission, and they basically had Napoleon attack Russia to attack and destroy Russia. And we see what happened here. And we wonder why the Russians mistrust the West. There you go. But it all goes back to 1815. They were going to make a League of Nations. Russia said, no, we're not going to join. We're not going to join your one world government. And yeah, so they sent Napoleon to go destroy it. And he almost did. That's the story in a nutshell. That's the story in a nutshell. Okay, let's just keep going. Now, if you want to know what Germany really looked like, that's when all the tribes got together. Remember, you had all these other little things in here and everything, and there were 71 of these little states and of these little states and whatever that together, where they all decided to get together and they formed something called the German Reich, right? And all that means is the German kingdom. Okay. And so notice it went all the way from here. Look how big that was, East Prussia, West Prussia, right? Notice you still have the Russian Empire, but you don't have Poland yet. They have a place called Posen, right? Posen, right? But they had the Russian Empire all the way up into here, which is why the Russians wanted that back from the Polish in World War II. Remember how the Russians and the Germans got together and they split up Poland between them because Poland was created, and that's a whole other story. And just for time's sake, I can't tell you that. So, and Polish is Catholic because in one of the treaties or one of their wars, that was one of the agreements that had to be made was that Poland would become and remain Catholic, and that's why Poland is Catholic to this day. Yes, sir. Yeah, it is. Okay. So anyway, but just look how big it is, right? Look how big it is. Schlesien, right? Where's all the ones? Breslau. See, this would be the Czech Republic. Here was the Austrian Empire. Here's the Hungarian Empire. People, everything looked really different down there, didn't it? For all of the Germans out there, there's Baden, the Prince of Baden, and then you have the Kingdom of Württemberg, and this becomes today Baden-Württemberg. Okay, here's the Kingdom of Bavaria, just showing you, and this little piece right over here, it's the Kingdom of Bavaria, which is why my forefathers are Bavarian, right? Because they lived there back then, and I would always ask my relatives, "What were?" Oh, we were Bavarian, but we weren't these Bavarians. We were these Bavarians. Okay, anyway. Okay, just letting you know if you want to know what Germany really looked like. A lot of Germans don't even know what Germany used to really look like, but that's the German Reich. And that's all the tribes and all the little kingdoms and princes getting together, going, the only way we're going to survive against everybody else is if we come together. More on that, but there we go. What do we got? Okay, this is Europe after World War II. Why is this important? Because there were new countries that were created back then. Finland was created back there, taken away from Russia. And that's why Russia attacked Finland. Okay, you have Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Used to be part of Russia, but they became their own three countries, right? And yes, Russia moved right back in. Poland. Look at this here too. Okay, this is after World War I now again. Poland. They were recreated in here. They took land from Germany and they took land from the Soviet Union, right? They took that land, okay, and they made Poland out of it. Just dropped it in the middle. They made Czechoslovakia. Why did Hitler move into Czechoslovakia? Because that used to be part of Germany. Do you see this? Do you see? There's a reason why things are done, and you can forget this, right? But there's a reason why things are done, or why countries want to do that. Is they want to go and yeah, Austria was reduced, Hungary was reduced, Romania became something, right? Okay, look at this, Yugoslavia. They got all the Yugoslavs together. And look at Albania. This is where Albania comes from here right now. Okay, Albania, this little thing right there. And all the Yugos were right here. You got to watch out for those Yugos. Okay. Yugoslavia, that's where you get Serbia, all that stuff here too. And here's the Albanians, right? And they became that became like the Muslim thing. And here's Greece. But these are all the new countries: New Austria, New Hungary, Czechoslovakia, where all the Slavs could be. So anyway, there you go. But that's what happened after World War One, and yeah, that's why in World War II, Russia attacks Finland and got pushed back. Russia went and occupied all these countries here to take that land back. Okay, and this was Germany. That's what Germany went and tried taking this land. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on. What do we got here? Okay, this here too. I'm just going to show you really quick. We're going to move on. This is Europe under Nazi control during World War II. There you go. It's all the black areas. In the red, you got the Russians. Don't forget all this down here in North Africa and Egypt down. They don't show North Africa, Egypt. Really good on that one, guys. So here's Europe, but there's that. We're not going to spend so much time on that. A lot of whatever World War II or Nazi history. But there you go. Notice how big Germany was, the German Reich. Okay, okay, and this is the part of Czechoslovakia that they took. This is another one that they took here too. Anyway, yeah, war. Anyway. Okay, this is more power dynamics of the war. We're going to move on. This is the D-Day invasion map there too. Maybe you've seen that too, but this is where the United States, Canada, and British. This is where they all landed on the beaches in France and where they all went. That's what happened on D-Day. If you've heard about D-Day, didn't know what it was. These were all, America. America went to Omaha and Utah Beach, right? The British went to Gold Beach. The Canadians went to Juno, and the British again went to Sword Beach, and that's where it all started out there. And that's another part of history that's just incredible. Watch the movie Saving Private Ryan if you want to watch that one. Okay. Okay, more. This is World War II after D-Day. No, it's okay. Let's move on. This was bombing of Japanese cities. I don't want to do that either, but I do want to show this one here too. These, you see the red dots there? You are looking at London. Okay. This is London. Here's the city of London right here, folks. The city of London. And everywhere you see where a red dot is, that this map shows every place in London that was bombed during the Blitz, and that took place between October of 1940 and June of 1941. So October to June, what, 9 months or something like that? We'd have to count. Yeah, about 9 months there. That was the whole time. And this stuff here killed 40,000 people, British civilians, in 9 months. Yeah, imagine that, more than the coronavirus. Whoops, I thought we're not going to talk about that. We're not. Here we go. But I just wanted to show you that, people. I don't think we really understand how much bombing and everything these people went through. There's all the bombs that hit right there, too. And just like over here in Germany, they are still finding unexploded bombs. 2 weeks ago, I'm driving down the highway. They closed the whole highway because while they were doing some construction, they found another big bomb that hadn't gone off yet. There are so many bombs that didn't go off, but here's all the areas that were pinpointed for the bombings in London. hmm That's in a 9 month period, and that killed over 40,000 people. Okay. Yes, war is horrible. War is hell. Yep. Anyway, that's you almost can't believe that. Those things there. Okay. So anyway, let's go forward, people. Thanks for listening. Thanks for staying in there today. Almost. We're getting close, people. Here goes. This is Dresden. Over in Eastern Germany, all the purple areas are what the Allies did. There was a horrible firestorm in Dresden that pretty much ate up the town. Firestorm, the purple areas are what were destroyed. In Hamburg, Germany, we had a firestorm here. Just maps that they have. Okay, here is the Jewish population. I'll do this really kind of short here. A lot of these people, whenever they got the chance, it was to emigrate to the United States or to other countries. Here is the Jewish population in Europe in 1933. Notice this in Russia. Okay. Okay, where is it? Russia. Oh, they show numbers, but it's too small. I can't even see that, right? But notice you got it Germany, this part of Russia, that part of Russia, a few in England and France and everything else like that. We see what happened. Now, I want to point out too, the communists in Russia were also not kind to the Jewish people. Okay. We had the horrific stuff that happened in World War II. With all that, you had the Holocaust and everything. And now on the right, this is the Jewish population in Europe in 2015 because they had the chance. The people some had a chance to go down to Israel. A lot of them were given chances also to emigrate to the United States or whatever. But 2015, there we go. Now notice this too. France has apparently the highest population of Jews in Europe in 2015. Why would France then, France, Germany, England, they flooded their countries with people out of Muslim nations? And I'm sorry, Muslims and Jews do not mix. Though that they are cousins. You've got Ishmael and the other guy. Not mix them. Just saying. Why do you flood Europe with Muslim and Middle Eastern people? And then all the newspapers say, well, Jewish anti-Semitism is going up so much. You invited it in. You invited it in. Okay, here we go. My voice is getting kind of tired. We're going to go forward. Let's go forward. Okay, spread of the United Nations. Oh my God, no, please. Native American tribal lands. Yeah, they included that map, but it's like, that just shows you where the different Indian tribes live, but we're going to go on. Uh, Languages of the Americans before colonization. Okay, these were the languages, the different places, okay, where America, here you have the East Coast is here, West Coast is here. Notice all these different ones with all the other languages and whatever that's they had. Of course, because all the people that came across that ice bridge and pushed everybody else out, you had all these years and all these tribes and everything else like that. Yep, Chinook. I could read those to you, but it's like a lot of it. Just there you go. Yeah, they had things. This could easily be a map of Germany with all the languages on that one too. Here we go. Oh, we're going to get into some interesting maps here, folks. There you go. The extermination of the American bison, the buffaloes. Buffel. In German, they say buffel. Would you like a buffel sandwich? Are we out here? There we go. Here we go. Extermination of the bison from to 1889. You notice up here in Montana, we had a lot of bison ranges up in Montana. I'm going to go closer in, forget the words. We're going to go in closer, but the bison, these are the areas they used to be in, right? But they got pushed, they kept getting pushed back, and then finally there was just these little dots. There were 10 here, 200 there, 25 there, 20. I mean, that's how low it got. 550 up in Canada for the bison, but they really brought those back, especially in Montana and everywhere. They really brought the numbers back. But like the bison for their coats, their skins, whatever, where they shoot them and just take the skin. That was the food source of the American Indian that was living here. So yeah. Anyway, so that's how it got smaller and smaller, but they brought them back. I'm happy for that. They have big, huge ones, right? Um, yeah. Here you go. Now here are these are the states before the Civil War. They want to show this. They want to say the slave states are the red ones, Texas. The free states were the blue ones, and the free territories. Now notice, so you get a really good lesson here of the different things, like Nebraska territory. You get to see how America looked back then. And you had Texas, but you had all these other, 1861. They're going to reset here in just a second. 1781. This was Spain. This was Spain. There was part here from France they had bought earlier, right? Up here was unclaimed and British land. That was really something. But anyway, So there you go. That was the states. They were going forward year by year, and yeah, that's what happened. So they go by too fast for me to really break down the things. Here's another map we're going to see though. Okay, we're going to skip that one. Every presidential election, no, thank you. We had too much of that. Here you go. Mexico replaces Germany as America's top immigration source. Okay, Germans, look at this. And a matter of fact, it still is. The vast majority of people in America are of Mexican descent, but notice with the immigration thing, the yellow is Germany. And if you can see, now let me go back here to try to get the dates in here somehow. Do I turn this way? Do I go up? Can I do it? How do we do it here? I don't know. It's all curved. There you go. That might help. Yeah, that will really help. Look at that. Okay, look at there. You see the date, but there you see it there too. And in the yellow areas, you see where it was German. But you start getting up around 1990. Get up into modern times, and you see the incredible where it's not Germans anymore. Look at how many Germans emigrated to the United States. Okay, but now notice like around 19 in the 90s. Where was it? Not the 60s. 1990. Yeah, they gave us a 30-year jump there, right? Because they're so happy that Mexico replaces Germany as America's top immigrant source. Yeah, people, did you realize that most of the immigrants in there were German? Look at all the Germans. Okay, you get up there, right? They go from 1930 to 1960. Okay, 1960, 1990, right? Now it's all Mexico. Anybody find that interesting? Just saying, right? There you go. There you go. Anyway, long story short. And so, yeah, you're talking about all the stuff that's going on right now. I won't even go into it. The migration crisis, where they're just they're letting everybody in, and what they're doing is they're shipping people all over the place, and it's a political thing. And I got to watch. But there's a lot of Germans. As a matter of fact, what is it? 42% of the people, at least 42%, are of German ancestry. There we go. Let's move on. Largest ancestry. This comes out of the year 2000. Okay, you see all that blue there? See all that blue there? That's German. All these blue areas are predominantly German. Okay, right? And all the light pet. You have Mexican, right? You get another one. You get where is it? Here, where is it? These people here. Yeah, German. Then you have what do you got? You have Indian. Anyway, here's African American, right? The largest ancestry, African American. Then they have ones called Americans, and I'm like, what? That's not just American. Now look at this here too for all the other people here too. Up here, what is it? The English, yep, the British people, but they're like more down in Georgia too. What's purple? Okay, but then you have the Irish here too, right? Massachusetts, Boston, a lot of Irish in Boston. Then you got these here too. You got the Italians. You got the Italians. This part of New Jersey and New York, right? I'm sorry if I'm doing your accent or whatever, but so you mixed all these people: the Italians, the Irish, the German. You got all these people here. The French. The French are up here in 2000, right? What your ancestry is. Look at look at ancestry with the largest population in states up here. German. Look at all the German here. Okay, so anyway, but see, lots of Germans in there in America. You got Mexico. You have some. They call them American or Native American or Indian. Do they have Indian people? Should they just call them Indian? American Indian, just the yellow. Yeah, there's places, American Indian. And I don't know what they mean by just American, right? I am an American. Okay. I don't call myself a German American or Swedish American. I'm an American. I'm an American. Okay. We're all Americans, right? Brothers and sisters in Christ. We're Americans. Okay. We have an identity. We have who we are, where we come from, but we're Americans. Okay. Let's move on here. What do we got? Oh boy, evolution of the United States. Let's let this go by for a little bit. Watch your area. Here's how you see how America came to be and get put together. Okay, this is kind of an easy, interesting map. Again, I can't pause. I can't pause, but look at there. You see all the states, right, up to 1960. But that's how it all came to be. From where? From 1804. It goes by too fast, but you see how America came to be bit by bit and piece by piece, and how all the states were created, right? Oklahoma used to be called Indian Territory. Yeah, Oklahoma used to be called Indian Territory, right? Here's colony of Louisiana. This was France. Okay, Louisiana. Okay, this was France. This was Spain and Mexico. And this was unclaimed up here for a while. Washington, Oregon, everything was unclaimed. So there you go. But that's how they came. Yep. Montana became a state before the Wyoming Territory. Right. Here's France, Spain. France there, Spain down here. Right. Then Mexico kicked out Spain. Mexico and Texas. Look how big Texas used to be. Incredible how that all worked. Right. How that all just worked out there. There you go. Okay. Incredible. All the history. But just to show you your country, right? Just to show you your country. Here we go. And people, I believe that's it. I think that's where we came to the end. Yes. Oh, thank God Elvis is done. Thank you. Thank you, Jehovah. No, anyway, people, that was just a little bit of world history, a little bit of American history, just showing you what was going on there. Hey, thanks for listening in today. I know that's a little thing, but hey, you know what? For maybe there's people out there that don't have a lot of other stuff to do during during the holiday here today. Here's another picture of Genghis Khan's empire compared to the Roman Empire. Man, you got to be studying Genghis Khan, not all those creepy Romans and everything. So anyway, there we go, people. Hey, I hope you had as much fun listening to this as I did sharing this today. And yeah, there you go. Just a little bit more of history and stuff going on. Don't know what more to say than that, except for this. People, we want to thank you very much. We want to thank you very much for all of your listening and all your support and all your love and all your emails and all that stuff that you send us there, folks. And yeah, we want to be thankful for you. And I'm thankful for you. And like we said with Tuesdays with Elvis, I am thankful that all of you princes and princesses and kings and queens out there allow me to serve you during these times. So praise the Lord. There we go. By the West is really interesting, isn't it? The Wild West. Boy, Wild West. That's how that all happened. So, okay, everybody. There you go. Just a little history. Just something else. Let's have something else. We can talk about conspiracy and corona and everything else, sickness, death, destruction. Yeah. So, what do we talk about? History, sickness, death, destruction. Yeah, but there it is. And you know what? It's always good to kind of know our history and everything because it has a real habit and sometimes a bad habit of repeating itself. And the thing is the devil always keeps playing the same cards because the same cards keep working all the time. Okay. So praise the Lord, everybody. I'm going to let you go and have a great Thanksgiving day wherever you're at there. We got to spend some time with this. I wanted to just go through these maps really quick. Just sometime here today was a perfect day to do that. So praise the Lord. Want to invite everybody to come to our Sunday service, 11:30 in the morning, Central European time. Swiss Miss is going to be going further with part two. Part one was the prenatal trauma. Part two, I think, is going to be from years 1 to 3. And I have no idea. I have no idea. Oh, wow. Look at this. Russian America. That's Russian America. When did they? I'm looking to see when they changed the name of Alaska to Russian America. Oh, 1800 something. District of Alaska. Look at that. Russian America. Alaska was called Russian America. I never knew that. Hey, we're all learning something here. God bless you. God help all you guys. Hello, Edgardo Castro. Hello, sir. Great to see you there. Ida, great to see you there. Denise, great to see you there. There you go. And so, praise the Lord. I hope you're all warm and dry and comfortable with whatever you choose to eat during Thanksgiving. We are gonna have barbecued spare ribs and mashed potatoes and maybe some other good stuff. And so, anyway, hey, have a nice, relaxing, peaceful day out there. And people, please remember to take care of yourself. Okay, take care of yourself today. Okay, God bless you all. I love you. Thanks for listening, folks.